For a long time, South Burlington was the place people chose when they wanted life to function well. You could live close to Burlington, reach I-89 quickly, get to the airport without planning your whole day around it, and handle most errands easy without crossing into another town. Practical made sense here. Downtown wasn't part of the equation. Now Market Street and City Center are changing the conversation. Welcome to South Burlington's Market Street. 10 years ago, nobody would have called this downtown South Burlington. It was a field, a dirt road, and at one point, private. That sentence alone tells you why Market Street is worth this airtime. For a long time, South Burlington was the place where people chose that they wanted to live to function well. This is not because South Burlington suddenly feels like Burlington. It really doesn't, and I don't think that's the goal. The change is more interesting than that. South Burlington is trying to build its own center, with restaurants, housing, bike paths, public spaces, and development clustered around a place that people might actually use in their regular life. That sounds simple until you realize how much it can change a town's identity. When a city has a center, people do not just pass through it. They meet there, they walk there, they choose it for dinner. They start to understand the area by something more than just the roads, shopping plazas, and convenience. So the real question is not, is Market Street nice? A better question is whether this area is changing how people think about living here in South Burlington. So if you're considering a move here, I would say that difference matters. You're not just buying a house, you're also buying into the version of South Burlington that surrounds it. Before we go further, I want you to hold one thought in the back of your mind. When you picture your ideal Vermont routine, do you want the charm of an older downtown, or would you rather live near something that is still taking shape? That answer will tell you a lot about whether Market Street in South Burlington area feels exciting or a bit too millennial. For years, South Burlington has been pretty easy to understand. It was the convenient choice near Burlington. That reputation did not come from nowhere. The city really does sit in a useful position, especially for people who need access to work, travel, shopping, medical care, and surrounding towns. But convenience alone does not always give people a sense of place. You can appreciate an area because it works without feeling pulled toward it emotionally. That is where Market Street really starts to shape the town's identity. It gives South Burlington a focal point. Burlington has Church Street and the waterfront. Shelburne has its village feel. Essex Junction has the Five Corner and even the Essex experience. South Burlington has had strong neighborhoods and major conveniences, but it has not always had one place that people instinctively point to and say, that's the center. City Center is an attempt to create that. The important word is create. This is not an old downtown that grew slowly over generations. Market Street feels more planned, more modern, and more intentional because that's exactly what it is. It's not something fully formed yet, but someday it will be. Constant activity, busy sidewalks, long-standing restaurants, and the kind of rhythm that only comes from years of people using a place. For now, some pieces are active while others are still developing. Construction on Market Street began around 2017. The building with City Hall and the library complex opened in 2021. Following that, mixed-use buildings have shot up on Garden and Market Streets. The city has added 946 new homes and more than 87,000 square feet of commercial space, featuring a mix of food and health and wellness spaces. And that development continues. There is a lot of excitement about the plan for a bike pedestrian bridge over the interstate, as well as the building out Garden Street all the way to Williston Road by Al's French Fries. Change can be a good thing, right? One of the biggest changes Market Street brings is it gives people a reason to stay in Burlington after the errand is done. For a long time, many people use South Burlington in a very task-oriented way. They came for a store, an appointment, or work day, or an easy stop between other places. Market Street tries to shift that pattern. A restaurant like Bliss gives you a reason to meet someone. It is totally my favorite new coffee chat spot. A public space like the library gives people somewhere to pause. Bike and pedestrian connections like these make the area feel less like a series of destinations separated by parking lots. Housing nearby also adds daily movement because people are not only arriving for one specific purpose. That is how a place starts to feel more complete. It becomes part of the routine rather than a location you use and leave. This is why the restaurant piece, for example, gets so much attention. A new restaurant is not just about the food. It changes how an area feels at 5 o'clock on a weekday. It gives people a place to gather without driving into Burlington. Personally, I'm looking forward to the second location of Luenig's that is due to open up on Market Street in 2026. Plans to become easier because the meeting spot is close to home. And that kind of conversation has a different emotional value than being near a big road. If you're relocating, this distinction can be hard to pick up from a map. You might see South Burlington and think, okay, that looks convenient. Yes, that is true, but it's only part of the picture. City center gives you a more specific version of the city to consider. It may appeal to you if you like the idea of Vermont living, but still want a more modern, connected, low-friction daily routine. Not everyone moving to Vermont wants a rural road, a long driveway, and 20 minutes between every stop. Some people want the mountains, the lake, the seasons, and the scale of Vermont, while still having restaurants, errands, work access, and outdoor connections close by. South Burlington has always been strong on the practical side of that equation. Market Street adds more lifestyle to the conversation. Bike paths and pedestrian connections are another major reason that this area is gaining attention. In Vermont, outdoor access is not an afterthought. It actually shapes how many people want to live here. A neighborhood feels different when you can get outside easily. Even if you are not biking everywhere, nearby paths and walkable connections can change how you move through your own community. South Burlington has historically felt more car-oriented in many places. Market Street has begun to create a more connected pocket where walking, biking, restaurants, public areas, and housing can relate to each other more naturally. A buyer considering living in this community should look at the exact property, the route to the places that they would use, the crossings, the parking, the winter reality, and whether those connections would actually become part of daily life. Housing around a developing center like this also deserves a closer look. The type of housing near Market Street may not match the picture someone has when they first think they want South Burlington. Near a more active center, you are more likely to see denser housing patterns like this, apartments, condos, townhomes, and newer residential development mixed closer to commercial spaces. And that can be right for potentially some buyers, and it could be the wrong fit for others who want a quieter street, a larger yard, or more separation from activity. Downtown-style convenience usually requires a different kind of housing pattern than traditional suburban neighborhoods. So if you're looking near Market Street, the real question is not only what the home offers, the better question is how close you want to be to the activity. Some buyers want to step outside and feel a little energy around them, and others want the restaurant or bike path nearby, but not necessarily directly woven into their immediate surroundings. That small distinction does change the search. It also changes which part of South Burlington could make sense for you. I actually have another great video breaking down the neighborhoods of South Burlington that I invite you to check out to determine. You'll see a home right near city center will not feel the same as a house tucked into more established residential pockets like Butler Farms or Cider Mill, which are in South Burlington South. Those are both South Burlington choices, but they're not the same lifestyle. Market Street also affects how South Burlington competes with nearby towns. That may sound a little strange, but buyers compare areas emotionally as much as they do logically. Burlington still has the historic center, the lakefront identity, Church Street, older homes, and a city feel that really can't be replicated. Williston often attracts people who want convenience, newer commercial areas, and access to major routes. Essex can feel more residential and town center depending on the pocket. Colchester brings lake into the decision in a different way. And then Market Street, South Burlington gives it an area where a stronger answer when buyers ask, but what does it feel like to live there? And then there's Market Street, South Burlington, which for all the reasons I've shared with you could be the right fit. But then there's the question, what does it feel like to live there? And that is one that is harder to answer. Convenient is clear, useful is clear, close to everything is clear. How does this all resonate for you? Would you rather live in a newer area that is still growing into its identity? Or do you prefer a place that already has an older, established downtown feel? One caution is that development momentum can even sound more exciting than it feels in everyday life. That is why I would not just choose a home here based on what is coming up. Future plans, yes, matter, but your life happens in the current version of the area. If you can spend time in a community like this before you make a decision, that is definitely a recommendation. Go at the time of day that you would actually be there using it. Notice whether the restaurants and public areas start to feel like places you would return to, or whether they look simply good as a selling point. Pay attention to how it feels from walking from one place to another. Look at surrounding streets, the parking, the traffic flow, and the distance between the home you're considering and the places that you think you'll use. A lot can change within a few blocks. The same idea applies to noise and activity. Some people want a quieter home base with occasional access to restaurants and events, and other people would rather be close to this movement, even if that means less separation. And there's no universal answer. The right answer depends on what energizes you and what might feel annoying after the novelty wears off. It gives South Burlington a more interesting lifestyle option, but it also asks buyers to be specific about what they actually want. A vague desire for walkability is not enough. Really think about what walkability means to you. Do you want a fully established downtown where you can wander for hours? A few good places nearby that make weeknights easier? Would bike access change how you often get outside? Is newer housing more appealing than older home character? So those answers matter more than the phrase city center itself, because the name doesn't necessarily create a lifestyle by itself. So Market Street is not replacing Burlington. It's not trying to become a historic village. It's giving South Burlington a different lane. Modern, planned, convenient, connected, and still evolving. That combination will appeal strongly to some buyers and not to all others. To wrap up, if you're considering South Burlington and trying to compare City Center, Market Street, or the other surrounding neighborhoods, feel free to reach out to me as well. I can help you understand what the areas feel like beyond the listing photos that you see online, and how those might compare to other towns around Burlington. And if you're trying to understand Vermont before you make a move, subscribe to my channel for more honest breakdowns of the places people are actually considering. Thanks everyone, I'll see you in the next video.